Hello, Bhavik.
Oh, there you go. I think
Hi.
I was muted there. Morning, how are you?
All right, how are you?
Happy New Year.
Oh, yes, Happy New Year to you, too.
I have a feeling it might be just the two of us on this call.
Yeah,
What do you
it
think?
might be. I put a reminder in the discourse channel, so.
Right, right. I am just catching up on some of the stuff that you added to the folder.
Okay.
So how was your break? Did you have any break at all?
Yeah, I did. It was pretty good, pretty relaxing. I did work over the break, but I tried to take time off.
That's always nice, right?
Yeah.
Let's see. I'm just looking over the agenda that you put together. All right. Should we give others a couple of minutes? Should we get started? What's the plan here?
We can wait a couple minutes, I think.
Okay.
Right.
In the meantime, I recently heard about the Research Parasite Awards. Was that something that is that something that's like widely known?
I mean, I've heard of it. I don't know how widely known it is, but yeah, I've heard of it. What do you? Is it something that of people like in your lab, and do they know about it?
No, so that's kind of the thing. I was sort of thinking about data reuse and about questions for the survey and so on, and then came across the Research Parasite Awards, and I think they recently announced winners for this year, like maybe in the last couple of weeks or so.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of interesting to sort of look at the recognition that people who are reusing data are getting, and sort of I think more than anything else, it sort of brings about awareness amongst end users about the need for good data curation and maintenance and so on for others to reuse. So more than anything else, I think I like the fact that it brings about more awareness on the topic.
Yeah, I think so. I haven't looked up the awards for this year. I'll have to look it up. Yeah.
All right. So I think it's 4 past 9. Maybe it's or 4 past 9 here in my time. So maybe it's a good as good a time as any to get started.
Okay.
So a couple of things, housekeeping things. Any idea about when the third quarterly meeting is going to be?
I don't know for sure, but I was calculating it in my head, and it's going to be either like the end of this month or next month.
I see. Interesting. And then a couple of side notes. When the program started, and my memory is a little bit fuzzy, wasn't there a mention of a in-person meeting around this time of the year, or that was just me imagining things?
Oh well, from my experience last year, people can have like in-person meetups if you're in the same city or if you're traveling. I've met up with a couple people in the program, like who, I was in the same place as them, and I, wanted to meet them, so we would meet in person, and then you'd post some selfies and talk about things. But otherwise, they can't really have a mass get together.
I see. That makes sense.
Yeah.
And then I don't know if you are super active on social media and stuff. But is it typical? It's somehow every once in a while I would look for eLife ambassadors hashtag on Twitter and stuff,
Yeah,
and there seems to be a little. I mean, not as many hits as one would expect naively.
yeah. Well, I mean, I've used that hashtag for special items. Like if we do something we want to publicize,
Mm-hmm.
we usually use it, but I don't think they have like. I don't think it's overused.
Mm-hmm.
I think
I
it's
see.
every once in a while there's like something special that they want to bring interest to, and so they put that hashtag. Um, I don't know. I guess there are other people who are involved who could retweet it. I mean, eLife has a good infrastructure for promoting. At least the ambassadors program has a decent structure for promoting things, but I don't think it's
Mhm.
just through that hashtag. I think we'd have to. I think ECR Life is another hashtag that can be used for things but it would be more closely associated with ECR Life.
I see.
Yeah.
I see. All right. Um, so the next thing is about the survey, and I was just briefly going over the survey that you put together on using Google Forms, I think.
Yeah.
Um, so first of all, this looks beautiful.
Okay.
This is really broad. Should get us a lot of feedback on sort of the questions broadly that we as a group um, seem to be interested in. And I know I put my thing up a little bit later, and it's just a Google Doc, not really a form format. Um, and maybe there might be constraints of time, but I put up a document called Survey Approach focused on imaging dataset.
Okay.
And essentially, sort of that jumps from question one, limits sort of participation to people who use imaging data.
Okay.
And the reason why I bring this up, and again, this might be a perfect opportunity to discuss if there's any value at all in sort of doing something specialized versus doing something broader, is because I think initially there was some sort of excitement about doing this in a field specific manner for a couple of different fields. And so there would be sort of a different survey going on imaging data versus a different survey, for example, going on human subject data and whatnot.
Right.
Um, um, if that were the track that we were still on, I could certainly just go ahead and flesh out the imaging data set piece and sort of put a full survey together. But I think there is not really as much value if we do a subject specific survey and then it's only for one subject.
Right.
Uh, because by definition, I think if you're doing it in a subject specific manner, you at least want it to be more than, I mean, ideally a few, but certainly more than one.
Right.
Um, so I don't know, put it on ice, go with a more broader survey and sort of stick to one survey, because I think where we are in terms of our timeline, we might not have time to run multiple surveys unless they go out in parallel.
Yeah. Well, do we have? I mean, we could put out we could have another survey. That's sort of specific to imaging, and then promote them together. I mean, I guess the thing I was when I went through this and I put this in a Google form
Mm-hmm.
is that the thing I was thinking about was like what are the sort of the best questions to ask that aren't like for one thing you don't want to have something that's too vague for people to answer like even if it's like field specific is
Mm-hmm.
does it have like um, is it something people can answer easily you know
Mm-hmm.
so some of the questions weren't very easy to answer I thought um, and then like some of these I think might not be very easy to answer. Uh, So in some of these, it's like select all that apply.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't know if they're going, people are going to choose a bunch of them or only choose one or what. But
Mm-hmm.
that's always a risk you run doing a survey. Is that
Mm-hmm.
you get like clean data, which is like a very focused answer. People have thought about it, or sometimes they'll tick boxes and it's more casual in terms of their answer, and then you get a lot of noise in the data. But
Mm-hmm.
that's something that if we run like a pilot, we can figure that out. For
Mm-hmm.
imaging specifically, we could well, I mean, I guess we could probably just do a separate one if we have like
Mm-hmm.
maybe more than 10 questions, and then look
Mm-hmm.
at the data for that as well. So
Mm-hmm.
um, I mean, it wouldn't hurt us, I don't think, to have two promoted at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
One obviously might get more participation simply because it's more
Broader.
inclusive, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and broader.
Mm-hmm.
But I think this, I don't know. Uh, I counted on this one, it had 26 questions, which is a little, well, it's probably a good length. It might be a little long, but
Right.
if
Is that the survey that you have? That's the
yeah,
one that has 26. Yeah.
this
Yeah.
the
Okay.
Google Doc.
Yeah. Yeah.
So this one, I mean, it's a little long, but it's probably okay. I don't think people will give up on it too much.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, we can do like, you can make it one for the questions on imaging,
Did you
and then
take the statistical survey, literacy survey recently?
yeah,
That had a fair number of questions, I would say. No.
yeah. I think it's. I mean, I don't know. Like, I think if you had like 100 questions in a survey, it might be like people wouldn't go through.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but like if it's like a 10 to 15 minute thing, usually people will just do it and not, you know, worry about it too much. Um, so I mean that's why people kind of keep them short, because you don't
Mm-hmm.
want people to give up on it and say, oh, I got to go somewhere, or I'm getting bored. Uh,
Mm-hmm. That makes sense.
yeah. So I think, yeah, if we had like this one and then like a specialized one, and the
Mm-hmm.
specialized one would have less participation simply
Mm-hmm.
because it's more focused.
Mm-hmm.
But we probably would be able to get some good data.
Mm-hmm. I see. I see. Okay. So interesting. Timelines are constrained. Okay. The blog post idea. I think back in the day we had uh, uh, a blog post planned about sort of proposing the survey and then a separate one announcing the survey. I think in the interest of time, we should have the one announcing the survey right away.
Okay. Yeah.
Uh, Sort of again to make sure we are meeting our goals and timelines and so on and so forth. Did you have a different view on it?
No, I think that's good to have a introductory. So we mentioned wanting to sort of pilot it first, or do you
Mm-hmm.
think
Mm-hmm.
maybe we should like just send it out and get a round of responses and then see what the data look like, and then do another
Right.
round, or how would you do? How would you
Right.
do
So
it?
I think, and maybe I'm a little bit new to this, but I think I like the idea of the way the statistical literacy survey did, where they just polled the ambassadors first, and it's just internal rather than external, and then I think that limits the feedback at most to I think about 250 odd people. That's the absolute maximum that we can have if we have 100% participation.
Yeah.
And so hopefully that is not super stressful to sort of parse the feedback, maybe get a feeling for if we need to reword a question or if it wasn't very clear or if we need to add more sort of options in terms of answers and whatnot. And then once that is out of the way, we can sort of advertise it a little bit more broadly.
Yeah.
That makes sense, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I think so.
So I think these guys have set a fairly good example, and why rock the boat? Sort of that seems, at least to me, like a fairly decent approach to doing this.
Right.
Um, so that covers that. Um, in terms of timeline, did you have something in mind about what we are looking, what we should be looking for, or?
I think we can. We if you want to look this over and you want to make sure that it's
Mm-hmm,
like I went through it yesterday. I just kind of answered some questions,
mm-hmm,
to look at it.
mm-hmm,
There's a tab in this survey where if you open up in Google Docs, it
mm-hmm.
actually let me see if this. Okay, that's not it. It actually gives you like the answers. So I mean, like when someone responds to it, it collates the answers. Um, if you want to try it a couple times, walk through it, and then
I
see if
think
your
for the
response.
moment, when I go to the responses tab, it says zero responses.
Oh
I don't
yeah,
know.
yeah. So what I did was I went through it, but then I
Mhm.
deleted my responses.
Oh, okay.
The reason being is because you want to have a fresh start when you
No, sure,
send it out.
sure, sure,
So
sure.
it'll do is when you go to the response tab,
Mm-hmm,
it will present each question and it'll give a distribution of responses. So it doesn't give you like a breakdown of individuals, but it does give you like summary statistics. So
mm-hmm,
we just want to make sure that like when we test it, we're
mm-hmm,
not including our responses in because
mm-hmm.
we were testing
Obviously,
it.
that would, yeah, that would dilute the feedback.
Yeah, but then I think maybe like within a week we can like make sure it's debugged enough to send out. Um, just like check for like spelling errors or
Mm-hmm,
like if they're answers that don't make any sense. Uh, they're like if you get to a question and their answers like there's a category that's missing or a category that's superfluous, flag
mm-hmm,
it. Maybe delete it or change it.
mm-hmm,
And then once that's debugged and you feel like you can go through it and you don't have to think too hard about the answer, you don't have to
mm-hmm,
sit there for 5 minutes and or you don't have to interpret some like one of the answers,
mm-hmm.
the options that are given. Then we're probably in a good place. um, I mean, you're a fresh set of eyes on this, so I think that's good to have like a fresh set of eyes on it so you can see if things make sense,
Mm-hmm.
and then we can send it out.
Right.
Um,
So, a couple of questions here. When I'm doing this, I'm not super familiar with the Google Forms thing. I think with Google Docs, you can just sort of put inline comments or suggestions or whatnot. Is there something equivalent for Google Forms where if you wanted to flag something, you could just bring it to the author's attention?
I don't think you can do like comments on it, but you can edit things directly.
I
So
see.
if you click on the question, and be careful when
Hmm.
you do it because it'll sometimes highlight everything. So that's
I see.
okay. But it's just it'll come up and then you can make the edits, and just kind of like if you want to send me a collection of the edits that you made, and then like send me a copy when you're done with
Hmm.
like making changes to it. That
Hmm.
would be good. That way we can look at it. We can do that on Discourse.
Right.
That's
Right.
easy. But then
Right.
once we're done with all that,
Hmm.
then we can go into we can send it out. I think to do like a pilot where people are answering it internally in the program, and hopefully we get some good responses.
Right. Right. So again, just to put a more sort of concrete timeline on these things. Let's just say we do our back and forth over the next week or so,
Yeah.
and get the survey in sort of internally. agreed upon form to be sent out to just the eLife community on next Thursday, January the 23rd.
Okay.
So because this would be internal, it would just be like a discourse, shout out, asking for feedback, etc. And then um, assuming there's nothing horribly wrong that goes horribly wrong, um, then let's see on the calendar what's going on. So we can basically get sort of focus on the blog text between January 23rd and say February 5th. Does that sound acceptable?
That sounds good. Yeah.
And then again, sort of assuming that everything goes according to plan, how long do you think is a good timeline for the internal survey to stay up for us to collect some information?
Probably about maybe 2 to 3 weeks. I mean, if we're gonna do like one round where we're just soliciting like the people to answer it to see if it works well, I think 2 to 3 weeks, just to have it up as an announcement on the. If you look at Discourse, there's a section where they have surveys advertised. So it would be there for that long.
So should we say, I don't know, let's see. Sorry, I'm looking at the calendar while I'm talking to you. Should we say we keep it up till February 24th?
Okay.
And right. And of course, we don't have to wait until February 24 to start looking at responses as we are collecting them.
Yeah.
So hopefully, because we might have been looking at it while the responses have been coming in, then we should be in some shape or form ready to send the survey out by say March 2.
Yep.
And so then say the outward facing survey, do you have a recollection of when the program ends, the ambassadors program?
It has to be sometime in April. I think we started in April.
I see.
I think they're going to do another round next year, but it'll be different people involved. But I think it's I think we can probably keep collecting data after the end of the program officially. But
right. So interesting. So how about we keep the survey open till May the 4th.
Okay.
Star Wars Day, huh?
Yeah.
That was not intentional. That was a coincidence. So that also happens to be a Monday. So we keep the survey open till May the 4th. However, for all the responses that we get by our final call, which I think you're right, should be sometime in April. So we can analyze, synthesize, and give sort of a preliminary report on survey responses on that call. And I don't know if there's like a written report, or I think there should be, but we hold on to the blog post with the final results for after the survey closes. That can be beyond the timeline of this particular ambassador's program, but I assume that if we are scheduled for blog, they wouldn't mind, even though we would have new people and so on. If our blog post goes out, a little bit later, that shouldn't be a problem. What do you think?
Oh yeah, it should be fine. Yeah, that's okay.
All right. So Just to reiterate, we are exclusively focused on the broad survey between now and January 22nd to be sent out through discourse to the internal sort of members on January 23rd, Thursday. Keep the survey open till February the 24th, and sort of analyze the feedback as we get it.
Yeah.
Between sort of January sort of 30th and February, excuse me, between January 23rd and February 5th, we can work on the blog post that sort of will announce this to the outside world. Or maybe slightly longer time frame is fine for that. But once the feedback has all come in from the ambassadors, then get into a position to sort of launch it to the public on March the 2nd, have a preliminary report at the final meeting, final call, and sort of a blog post beyond the ambassadors program. And the deadline for the survey facing public will be May the 4th, which is roughly 2 months.
Yeah.
Okay, so that takes care of our survey. I think unless we get the rest of the team super excited, for the moment we may want to keep the subject specific thing on ice, unless you have very strong opinion one way or another, because somehow in my mind it's a little bit symmetric if we had at least more than one subject. At least two subjects would be nice. But otherwise it seems like it's a very specific thing that I have a very strong desire to seek feedback on imaging, simply because that's the sort of the data sets that I play around with. But looking for feedback for one specific subject, I don't know. That seems a little bit non-traditional.
Yeah. Well, I mean, also, we could think about like a longer term strategy of like refining a very specific topic, and then like advertising it to a very specific group of people. Like if there's like a mailing list for imaging people, that might be a good place to target for something like that, because you're going to get people in the ambassadors program. Although there are a lot of people, I don't know how many people are specifically in a certain field.
That would be hard. Yeah.
So it would help to have to find an audience that's, although very focused. There are a lot of people in that one area. So, but I think we can focus on this for now, and then once we get that out, we can maybe after, if like in next year's program, we want to do specific questionnaires, specific surveys, we can do that, and then we have the data from this sort of guide us in some of the questions, because some of these questions, I think they deserve follow-up, but I can't right now, looking at them, I can't tell you what are the more interesting questions. So
that makes sense. Okay, and then okay, the thing about education/website. So that's a very interesting one. Personally, I have to admit a little bit of ignorance with sort of the use of platforms such as GitHub and so on. And so if I were not speaking as a member of the DRI, but more as an outsider, I would absolutely love for some resource that would be like an exercise for me to walk through and be like, oh, boom, you now have some sort of basic competency in dumping code or notes on GitHub and so on and so forth. So that would personally be super interesting to me.
Yeah.
Whether it is in sort of a video format or sort of an exercise, where you click through things or upload something or whatever. a sort of just a work exercise rather than a video. So step by step, you just follow instruction, written instruction. I don't know which one would be the most effective way of doing this, because sometimes I feel like video tutorials are fantastic in giving sort of a rich experience with video, audiovisual aids and so on. On the other hand, certain tasks like coding or dealing with GitHub, whatever, actually working through the steps yourself might be the most efficient way to sort of form muscle memory, so to speak, for different tasks.
Right.
So I don't know what the best approach is, and or you would be excited, or maybe you've done enough of these where you are like, oh, it's boring to do one more on GitHub. Um, what's your view on that?
Well, yeah, I think that, like, I mean, some people know how to use GitHub pretty well, and some people don't. So it's always good to have, like, for people who don't, to have a tutorial for it. I think I created a GitHub tutorial at sort of at the beginning of this program. It's in the. It should be in the Google Drive. I don't know if it's still there, but where it's just like some slides to show you how to use GitHub for doing like research projects and things like that. But I think there's some opportunity for video. Like I think the video is good because you can explain kind of the steps and show people. So you walk them through it. And it's much easier than to read like some slides and say, oh yeah, now I understand how to do it, because you can work along with it. So I like that idea. Maybe we can try to do something like that where it's just like a short video, just a sample to see how it goes. Just try some easy thing like here's how you use GitHub for X, like putting data up or putting it up somewhere else, and then just something very simple, and then see how it goes, if it looks good or not. I don't think it needs to be scripted. It's just like a quicker tutorial.
Right. I don't know, a 10-minute walkthrough or something,
Yeah.
Right. And do you think there's any value in sort of adding a badge to it, or that's just too much work?
Well, the badge can simply be like, watch this video and like submit something to show that you've done it. Like,
right.
That's not that hard.
And then is that badge something that brings bragging rights? This might underline my ignorance. Is it something that people could like post on social media or something and be, oh, I earned a badge about how to walk through GitHub or something?
Yeah, I mean that's you can certainly promote it on social media. I mean, it doesn't have like great value to people, but it's like just something that shows you accomplished it. So yeah, it can be done easily with the interface. I think there's a social media plugin right on the badge when you earn it. You can announce it on whatever platform, and then I mean, that I don't know how much value, but it does give people sort of a sense of accomplishment, to walk through it. But the real value is in the actual going through the video.
Right. And I think from our perspective, if somebody promotes it on social media, it's just that out of curiosity, other people might click on it and be like, oh, hey, that looks interesting. Let me go through. It's just a 10-minute video or something. Let me go through and like pick up on a skill or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. That might bring in a little bit more of an audience. Who knows?
Yeah, I think so.
All right. So again, learning from our previous experiences, I think it might be super to sort of put a timeline on this, or you think it's a little premature for something like that?
Oh no, I think we should stick to the timeline you proposed, so that we can get it out. We had the timeline for making this, so it was kind of, people got busy, and it was like,
Right.
people. So I mean, yeah, let's keep this timeline And let's
Oh
just
no
try
no
to, yeah.
no, I agree with that one. I meant for this GitHub tutorial.
Oh, timeline for that.
Yeah,
Well, I
yeah.
think maybe within the next month. So,
Okay,
like by the middle of February,
okay.
we can try to get something, just like a mock. Maybe I'll make a mock tutorial and test it out and to see how it
Hmm.
goes.
Hmm.
And then we can say,
And
if this is something we want to promote or not. Is it useful?
right. And I think I could be your test case.
Yeah,
uh, okay, okay. I could try to follow it and see if it makes sense.
yeah.
All right, that sounds fantastic. Did you have something else that you wanted to discuss?
No, I think that's probably good.
All right.
Yeah.
So I am going to add some of these completely illegible notes that I took to our shared Google Doc and sort of start sending you some feedback. Please excuse in case there's a barrage of messages, but I'm going to quickly work through the survey and then hopefully we get into a position to start sending it out soon.
Yeah, that sounds good.
That makes sense, right?
Yeah, yeah, it does.
Fantastic. So this could be a short call then.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so.
This seems really exciting. Thank you so much for the amazing work that you put into the survey so far,
Well, yeah, you're
and
welcome.
I expect to learn quite a bit from the feedback that we receive on this survey.
Yeah, I look forward to it.